Allah bless you, bro. Jazakallah khair. Let's take now Senju.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So I have a doubt about a hadith. There's a hadith saying Allah descends down to the lowest heaven every night. And if Allah is outside time and space, then how can Allah descend down as the lowest heaven is created in time? Like Allah does not change and is always timeless. So yeah, it brings more questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you say the hadith says, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the lowest heaven?
Yeah, every night, yeah.
Okay, from my understanding, Mohammed Hijab could correct me, is that understanding we don't basically anthropomorphize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, laysa kamithlihi shay, there is nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what we say here is, from my understanding, I could be totally wrong, Hijab could correct me,
Okay.
is that essentially Allah's mercy is closer. Allah's mercy is closer. We don't anthropomorphize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't make him of the universe or of the world. Laysa kamithlihi shay. And the easiest and quickest answer to this question is that Allah's mercy comes closer.
Is this hadith like metaphorical or literal? Which one?
Well, it depends what you mean by metaphorical and literal in this sense, because the best way to say it, what is the apparent meaning here? What is the apparent meaning concerning this hadith? The apparent meaning is that Allah's mercy is closer.
Yeah, but Salafis say it's literal, and Ash'ari say it's metaphorical.
Well, this is beyond my pay grade. I'll have to bring Mohammed Hijab into this one, to be honest. Mr. Hijab,
Wow.
please, can you answer the brother's question?
I'm looking for a book. I can't find it. I'll tell you which book it is in a second. Yes, so yeah, from the Athari perspective, this is something we say it'd be like kayf, right? So the Hanabila will say, like, be like kayf, in a way that we don't know how, and so on. So no one knows how this actually actualizes, but definitely this was the opinion of the early people. The early people definitely took this opinion. Like Al-Bukhari, if you read Khalq Af'al al-Ibad, definitely he takes that opinion. He takes the opinion that Allah is above the throne and that he does nuzul. Nuzul and istiwa are very much established in the early creeds.
So can you say that it's Allah's mercy coming closer?
Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and some of the Ash'ara would take the view that is angels coming down, or they would do ta'wil of some sorts. So this is the Ash'ari school of thought. The majority of them, and those who do ta'wil, like Ibn Hajar, and we've mentioned him already, he would say something like that. That's the angels coming down. But this, if you look at the opinions of Al-Bukhari and others in the early time, they will say something which we don't know how, but we affirm it. We don't know how it happens. Just like many things of Allah's essence, we don't know how. This is the opinion of the early people, Sufyan al-Thawri and this and he mentions with Asanid all of his contemporaries and people who believe in that stuff.
So,
Okay, so I was wrong.
That would be more in line with Ash'ari, I think. Opinion.
So Allah does not descend down literally, right?
No, that would be when you say literally, we have to be careful, right? Because what do we mean by it? But listen, the early people would say
it's a problem.
The early people would say we don't know how. We don't know how. The howness is unknown. Okay, so for example, when someone came to this, I think you should memorize this blueprint actually. Yeah, someone came to Imam Malik and he asked him, "Where is كيف استوى الله على العرش? How did Allah do استواء على العرش?" He said, "الاستواء معلوم والكيفية مجهول والسؤال عنه بدعة والإيمان به واجب." That's basically it. It's that we don't know how. There are things about Allah subhanahu. We were talking about qadr last week. There are things where anything to do with the kayfiyah of the howness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't know. It's as simple as that. We don't know what that is. Someone could argue, well, if you take this view, the apparent view, then would that suggest that at every part of the globe, because the earth is a globe, that Allah is descending somewhere, or it's like that? We say maybe, Allahu Alam. Yeah, possibly. Why would that be excluded from the meaning?
It's a contradiction. I mean,
no, it's not
Allah is
contradiction.
timeless. Allah's
No,
timeless.
it's not contradiction.
Brother, it's only a contradiction, brother, if you presume an anthropomorphic understanding.
Yeah, that's right.
But with the understanding that it's without modality, you have to appreciate that that also is included laysa kamithlihi shay. But even understanding the whole reality, you have to affirm the transcendence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It would only be a contradiction if you think to yourself, Allah, for him to do that would be like how I do it. But then, like you said, you'd have to assume that Allah is a jism in the beginning. We're not assuming that. Assumption is never there. Allah is not a body. Allah is not a jawhar. Allah is not a arab. Allah is not any of that stuff. Okay. But if you're asking me, I'd say to you, look, the early people believed that. They did believe that. Just look once again, if you want a good evidence of istiwa and nuzul, those things are definitely affirmed. Like the Hanabila, the early Hanabila, 1,000,000% affirmed, like Harb al-Kinmani, Sabuni in the 5th century, the two Razis, like all of that is definitely. Just look at any of the primers, the early primers, they definitely all believed in that with Asanid. And a good book for this would be Khalq Af'al al-Abad from Bukhari. So how that the modality, we don't know. We don't know how. These Asanid that go back to Malik ibn Anas, for example, istiwa ma'loom wal kayfiyatu majhul. We don't know how. That's how he understood it. Was su'alu anhu bid'ah, actually. Like, asking about these things, is a bid'ah. And what do you call it? Ibn Abbas, he mentioned, something like, don't think about the that of Allah, but think about the khalq of Allah, kind of, right? And don't think about the essence of God, because this is inaccessible to us. It's inconceivable how this works. We don't know how that works. The essence of Allah, dhatillah, is something we don't know how it works. For us to answer any questions about dhatillah, we'd have to know what it is like how it functions. We don't know anything, so we can't answer anything about that.
Can I contact you and talk about this like more?
Yeah, but this is something which has been discussed by the early people. Okay, there's so much discussion. Like, if you want to see a discussion about it, I'm not trying to force you to think one way or the other. For me personally, I am more convinced with just sticking to this is what I say with Aqidah, right? Just go to the Quran. Okay, you're reading the Quran, right?
Yeah.
And then I think you're an Arab, so you have some access to the Arabic language. So what you do is you read the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, whatever, and then you see, oh, this is a verse, I'd like to know what it means. Or there's a hadith, I'd like to know what it means. With the Quran, you go, for example, Tafsir al-Tabari, right? Or Tafsir ibn Kathir, right? You get the Tafsir. Say, okay, what did the people think at the time of the Prophet Muhammad? What did Ibn Abbas think? What did Ibn Mas'ud think? Because the Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا وَإِنْ تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّمَا هُمْ فِي شِقَاقٍ فَسَيَكْفِيكَهُمُ اللَّهُ. If they believe in what you guys believe in, and it's not just the Prophet, مَا أَنْتَ, he says, آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ, what you guys in general, like the Prophet's friends, then they're on the right path. So this is the safest thing. We don't require any philosophical lens or any. No, I want to know the best linguistic expert will be the primary recipient, which is the Sahaba of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, والسابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه وأعد لهم جنات تجري تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. It's talking about the Sabiqun and the Awwalun min al-Muhajirin Ansar. And this is the Sahaba, right? So once again, they have the stamp from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, خير القرون قرني. This stuff is true when it comes to Aqidah. So for me, my personal opinion on it is I look at, okay, what does Ibn Abbas have to say on this issue? Okay, well, someone will say, it's not always, sometimes they do ta'wil. Sometimes the Sahaba make ta'wil. Okay, no problem. If you want to call it ta'wil for the sake of argument, I go, for example, for Tham Wajh Allah, where, in Surah Al-Baqarah, and you turn to the face of, or the countenance of Allah, whatever. And Ibn Abbas says about that, is talking about the Qibla. Khalas, I'm not going to say that means the face and the countenance, or I'm not going to go further than that. If it's a sanad, sahha sanad, Ibn Abbas said that, I go with that. Where Allah says, for example, kullu shay'in halik illa wajha. It means illa hu. Ibn Abbas said that, Ibn Mas'ud said that, Sahaba said that, Tabari said that. That's what I'm going to go with, because that's what, that's, for example, وَالسَّمَاء بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. The sama, we have created it from aid. It's mushtaqqa min yad, maybe, Allahu alam. There's discussion among the scholars about if the word is mushtaqqa min yad or not. Probably not anyway, but how is it translated? How should we translate it? Let's look at what Ibn Abbas says. He says power. Okay, in this case, we'll see power. No problem. But in other verses now, istawa al-arsh and this and that, I'm going to also go with the Sahaba. Like, all I'm doing is, my personal take on the Aqidah mas'ala is I'm just going through. I don't care. To be honest, even Ibn Taymiyyah and even like Ibn Uthaymeen and Ibn Baz and all that, this is out of the equation. All of that to me does not. La yusminu wa la yughni min ju'a. This is not what Allah was referring to, actually. I'm talking about, let's see what the Sahaba actually said. If they did ta'wil, if you want to call it that for the sake of argument, I salimtu jadalan, no problem. I don't give it whatever you want to call it. Is this a syntactical issue anyway? If you want to call it ithbat, these are all labels that later people kind of developed and so on. All I care about is how did the companions, like, who would not, like, think about this logically, right? The Prophet said about Ibn Abbas, he says, Allahumma alimhu ta'wil. Allahumma faqihu fi din wa alimhu ta'wil. Allah, may Allah give him knowledge in the religion and let him know how to do ta'wil. Like, the Prophet made dua. He made dua for his for Ibn Abbas. And Ibn Abbas was there, he's narrating hadiths. He knows the Arabic language. We're not talking about Egyptian Arabic or Lebanese Arabic or Syrian Arabic or more Moroccan. I'm not going to call that Arabic for the sake of argument. We'll call that, I don't know what that is. But whatever it is, I'm only joking for the people watching. But whatever it may be, I'm not talking. The truth of the matter is, he knows more. So I'm going to say, instead of going into this, is a matter where I don't need to. The best philosophical argument for me is following the Salaf, actually, in this case. So whatever Ibn Abbas has to say about it. Now the argument will be, is it tafweed or is it ithbat? These are all labels. In here, I
still have doubts. I don't know.
Look, what I'm saying is, you will not have doubts on issues that this is fawq itar is completely above and beyond the logical thing. No one can give you a satisfactory answer. There are some things in Islam that cannot be answered, and one of them is the howness, or the whole category of how does God do things, or how is God. Those two things, how, that's, sorry to say, anyone who tries to give you an answer with how is doing you an injustice. Now is لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. The Quran says that. Like, the visions don't capture him, and he captures all the visions. So how can we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way, we don't know, we don't know how to speak about his that. It's unbelievable.
I'm talking about the hadith. I want you to address the hadith.
I am addressing the hadith. I'm saying that look. I said to you, look, the best way, the template, because it's not just the hadith, my brother. It's all of these things, and there is a template. Okay, the template is the template of Imam Malik when he says al-istiwa'u ma'lum wal-kayfiyatu majhul. Al-kayfiyah majhul. The howness is unknown. Everybody's actually, the Ash'ari say that, the Maturidis say that, the Salafis say that, everyone says that. الكيفية مجهول. It's unknown. If you
The
want me to
Arabic
tell you
word
how Allah
for
does something, anybody who tells you how Allah is or how He does something is a charlatan. That is my answer to you, my brother. You have to be happy knowing that there are some things about reality which you can never grasp. That's the reality. The howness when it relates to Allah in any capacity relating to His essence, that is unknowable. So these hadith, we just say, okay, well, I would say, I listened to something recently, some brother, he sent to me, mashallah, very good. The Sheikh al-Ajayli, he was talking about this hadith actually. And it was a lecture in Arabic. I can't remember, Sirr Allah, something. I can't remember what the entire lecture is called. And he said, this hadith, he said, what the tragedy about these kinds of hadith are? That Allah, He never, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu he narrates hadith like that, it's not that He wants us to think about these masail. To be honest, He doesn't. And that's very clear because, like Imam Malik said, these are bid'ah masail. They actually are bid'ah. When you start thinking about how Allah is, and this is, a'udhu billah, you should, whenever you think about the howness of Allah, asta'idh billah. This is my advice. What he said is that what you should be really thinking about, this is a very good time for praying, khushu'ah, where you have this awe-inspiring that, you're worshipping Allah, you're making dua to Allah. That should be the extraction from the hadith. Not how does Allah do that and what's in this. And this is, to be honest, not something Allah is going to judge us on. And by the way, let me say something. What's your name, my friend?
My name is Adam.
Adam, listen, it's never a contradiction when we talk about we don't know how something is. Because how can it be a contradiction unless you know the whole thing? Like, for you to claim a contradiction here, right? Because you said this word.
In the hadith, it says descend. In the Arabic word, it's
but when it says Allah descends, it doesn't say anyone descends. It says Allah yanzilu. But what I'm saying is that if you don't know how that, if you don't know the howness of Allah, how can it be a contradiction?
But Allah cannot descend. He doesn't have the attribute of humans to descend.
I'm telling you, look, brother, what that means, what descent means in the context of Allah, yes. Whatever descent means, just like istiwa, whatever those two terms mean, okay, relative to Allah is not what it means relative to human beings. I reject the premise on all counts that we're talking about the same thing. When we're saying descending of Allah, we don't know even what that word means in context with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know even that. When we say Allah yastawi al-arsh or Allah yanzilu ila sama, all of those things, we don't know what that means. We don't know what those words means in relation to Allah.
And that's a contradiction to us.
Why? If you don't know what something means, how is it a contradiction?
Because in the way we understand descent is not like Allah's.
We understand descent. Okay, let me put it this way for you, my friend. Yeah, we understand descent only in relation to, if you want to put it in the language of the mutakallimin, a'rad, jawahir, and ajsam, bodies, accidents, and atoms. Right? We only understand descent and nuzul and istiwa in that context. That is what we know. Yeah, we know descent in a spatial temporal environment. We don't know descent in any other environment. Now, with Allah, that's irrelevant actually, because Allah
He's changeless. He's timeless. It's
exactly
impossible.
Because Allah is timeless and Allah is spaceless. He's not mahdud bi zamanin or makan. He's not mahdud. He's not confined in place or time. So for that reason, that particular notion becomes irrelevant. So what notion is relevant? Allahu a'lam. We don't know the notion is irrelevant. We don't know what notion is relevant, because for us to know what notion is relevant, a prerequisite to knowing what notion is relevant, we have to know the that of Allah, and we don't know that. Does that make sense?
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This is, I still have doubts. I don't know.
Okay, well, you have doubts, but because you're doing the opposite of what the companions told you to do. The Prophet and the companions told us not to think about the that of Allah. You can think about the sifat of Allah, which are the attributes, but the essence, we don't know what that is. We don't know how that operates. We don't know what it is. And because we don't know how that is, we can't do binah on anything. Does that make sense? We know what it doesn't mean, bro. We know what it doesn't mean. Okay, let me put it this way. Let's do it in a Selby way, right? We know what it doesn't mean. We know what it doesn't mean. It's like anything in the khalq, like anything in the creation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's anything you can imagine. Yes, anything that you are thinking about is not what it means. Does that help? Do you understand what I'm saying now, right now?
Yeah, I understand, but
okay, anything you can imagine descending or or what's the how do you say istiwa? Or doing istiwa. Either of those, anything you can imagine, that's not what is intended. That is do ilgha of that, cancel that. Whatever you're thinking now, we refute that. No Muslim believes in that.
But the words we understand in human language.
We understand the words, but we don't understand how they operationalize with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they relate to Allah. We understand the words. Yes, we do get that. Of course we understand the words. Otherwise it's meaningless. Allah speaking is meaningless language? No. He's speaking a language which you understand, but we don't know how it works with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you know what the only thing you can take from this hadith, other than the words that you cannot understand in the howness term, is that you should be getting up in the last third of the night and doing dua. That's the only thing you can actually practically understand fully. Oh, this means that it's a good time to make dua.
But
that's
I won't get. I will never get answer to it. To this question. I will never get answer.
No, you'll never get an answer that you want. It's different to the don't get an answer and don't answer. No, you don't get an answer you don't like.
Come on, we're gonna be here with it. So
no, give him 3 more minutes with me, please. Yeah. Listen, my brother. What's your name again? Sorry.
Adam.
Yeah. Listen to me carefully. Yes. Anything that comes to mind when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mulgha, is completely cancelled. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Laysa kamithlihi shay' wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. By the way, you know what the difference between Laysa mithluhu shay'an and Laysa kamithlihi shay' is? Laysa mithluhu shay'an would mean that is nothing like him, there's nothing equivalent to him. Mm-hmm. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Laysa kamithlihi shay', this means that there's nothing even close to him in stature. Nothing is comparable. So the kaf makes a huge difference. The kaf means there's nothing that can even be compared. لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. That visions don't encapture him, and he encaptures all visions. ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. These are qawata' in the religion of Islam. These are very clear, muhkam, unambiguous, foundational verses in the religion of Islam. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Do you understand what these verses mean? That means that anything you think about when Allah, anything you think about with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything. If you wake up, if you're asleep, if you're drunk, if you're intoxicated, if you take wine, if you take hashish, if you take this, if it's anything, you start thinking something, maybe anything you take, anything you think is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does this make sense?
I agree, yeah.
Obviously you won't take all this wine and hashish. I'm just saying, iftaradiyan.
Do you believe that Allah exists without a place, or
we agree with, yes, this is a big misconception. The Hanabila or the people of the Athar or whatever, they do agree with this point. Ibn Taymiyyah makes that very clear as well, by the way, that we don't believe that Allah is confined into space and time. We agree with that.
So Allah exists without a place.
Yeah, Allah is not confined in laysa lahu makan wa zaman, meaning he's not mahdud. Absolutely, he's not mahdud.
Okay, laysa bimakan. So that means he exists without a place.
Now we're talking. So he's not in. Allah is not in like prison or something. What kind of God do you think believe? Like Christian? Oh, we don't believe like that. Like a Jew? Like what? Like a Hindu? Like a monkey God? No, we don't believe in this. A pantheism? No, we don't believe. We believe. Let me just be very clear about this. We don't believe that Allah is imaginable in the human mind.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable. Now, the Ash'aris and the Atharis believe that we will see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment.
Yeah.
Because of the wujuhun yawma idhin nadhira. Nadhira ila yawma ila rabbiha nadhira. Yeah. that they will see only the Mu'tazilah said we don't believe in the nazar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, but we all believe. How will we encapture Allah? No, in a way that we don't know even that. So the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah on this issue is very clear. The early people, they looked at these words and they said, okay, this is what we believe. They said, we don't know what the kayfiyah is, so we're just going to accept the words. We're going to accept it. We're going to realize that we understand what the words mean, but we don't know how to contextualize that with Allah, because then we'll be doing tajseem or something, anthropomorphism or something. We don't believe in anthropomorphism. Any kind of anthropomorphism or tajseem is kufr akbar yukhrij sahibuhu min al-millah. It's the kind of kufr that takes somebody outside of the scope of Islam. It's the worst kind of shirk and kufr that someone can do, that anthropomorphize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make them into a body or something like, no, a'udhu billah. Whoever says Allah is a body or jism in that way, and a'udhu billah, this is
so why are you an Athari then Ash'ari? Why
well,
are you?
I think you have a misconception. Okay, the Ahl al-Athar, the people in the beginning of Islam. Okay, when we're talking about Bukhari, when we're talking about, look, we have to divide ourselves, the different qurun. There are different scholars that elaborated in different ways. Even Ibn Taymiyyah can say something which is wrong, aqidah-wise. You think everything he said is right, and we don't believe in that. He's not ma'soom. He can make mistakes. Him, Ibn Qayyim, this one, that one. I am saying to you, forget about all of these names. Yes, forget about those people. Yeah. We respect and love, obviously. Everyone knows that we love and respect Ibn Taymiyyah and his likes. But with this mas'ala, it's as simple as this. You agree with me, yes or no, Adam, that the Quran, it says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ, it's referring to the Sahaba.
Yeah, I agree.
السابقون الأولون, it's referring to Sahaba.
I agree.
Yeah, and the Asanid are there for us, yes? Like Ibn Abbas, we know what he says on issues.
Yes.
Some Ash'aris will say, oh, well, look, he made ta'wil here, he made ta'wil here. Some Atharis will say, no, he made ithbat here. And these are all semantical points. I say, I don't care what you call it. I am just going to follow what Ibn Abbas says on this mas'ala. Anyone who said, like, if you want to know my opinion on any verse of the Quran, when it comes to Aqidah, my opinion is the opinion of Ibn Abbas. And in fact, let me tell you, if we have the sanad, if it's not Ibn Abbas, it's going to be Ibn Mas'ud or whoever. If we don't have the sanad, then we look at other opinions of other Sahaba, etc. Now, if I say something which is out of line with what these Sahabas, great Sahabis say, I will change my opinion based on what they do say, because that is my ethic, that is my epistemology. When it comes to aqaid, the pure aqidah of the Sahaba, which they understood the sifat of Allah, they understood the Lugha Arabiya, they understood all of that. This is what I follow. Like, nobody can tell me, okay, but Fakhruddin al-Razi, he got it right. Fakhruddin al-Razi made big mistakes, and he was even refuted. Do you know, al-Razi was refuted by Ash'aris.
So
he believed in Qadr. You know, he says al-insan majboor ala surati mukhtar. He did believe in Jabr. Yeah. I can bring you Ibn Taymiyyah, he made mistakes as well. And at least at one point in his life, he did believe in Fana'un Nar. He believed in the end of hellfire. And so did Ibn Qayyim, he believed in that at one point. You can say, well, he changed his opinion or whatever, but he made mistakes. And these are mistakes of Aqidah. I can bring you, anybody you bring me from the Khalaf, I can show you that some issues have been held against them from members of their own creedal schools of thought. Yani, like I said, Al-Razi was refuted by Ash'aris, and he is the leading Ash'ari. Ibn Taymiyyah was refuted by Hanbalis, and he's a leading Hanbali. Shows you every kullu bani adam al-khatta' wa khayr al-khatta'in tawbun. And Al-Razi, he says, there's something called hulul al-hawadith. Says every school of thought has something of hulul al-hawadith, including Ash'arism, including Mu'tazilism, including Maturidism. There's some issues, Akhi, that, you know, to be honest, the Maturidis and the Atharis are closer to each other than the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. You know this. For example, the Maturidis and the Atharis both believe that our tasarrufat have ta'thir. But the Ash'aris disagree with that. They don't believe our tasarrufat have ta'thir. So this is an issue where actually Ibn Taymiyyah agrees with the Maturidis more on an issue than the Ash'aris agree with the Maturidis. Same thing with Takween, Sifat al-Takween. Actually, the Atharis and the Maturidis are united on this issue, at least to some extent, more so than the Ash'aris and the Maturidis are. So, brother, this whole thing about, Ash'aris and Ahl Sunnah, and this is a game. What I'm saying is that this is a semantic, most of it is semantical issue. Most of it is kalam kathir. A lot of it is philosophizing. A lot of it is idkhal falsafa in the aqidah of Islam. A lot of it is this, and a lot of it is that. But what I'm saying is so simple. Nobody can go wrong. I'm not saying go to Abdul Wahhab book, Usul al-Thalatha, Qawaid al-Arba'a, and Kashf al-Shubuhat. Those books are not required for anyone's guidance. And I'll tell you that with all due respect, those books are in fact not required for anybody's guidance. The Usul al-Thalatha, yeah? The Usul al-Thalatha, if I bring you I'll bring you one hadith of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one hadith, which is where the angels, when they ask him, Man rabbuka wa ma dinuka, whatever. If I put that in a pamphlet, it will be better than 1,000 Usul al-Thalatha books of Abdul Wahhab, because it's the kalam of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If I author a book today and I just put that hadith in it with some note in the bottom, it will be better than 1,000 Usul al-Thalatha books, because it has the comprehensive how the Prophet dealt with the three questions. Who's better at understanding this question, Abdul Wahhab or the Prophet Muhammad? Tell me now. I want any Salafi to come and tell me, no, Abdul Wahhab was better, so I can make takfir of them and tell them to leave the chat. No Wahhabi or this. Oh, Wahhab what? Yeah, leave this stuff aside. I am saying the Aqeedah of Islam is made very simple for the people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent prophets and messengers. And the prophets and the messengers, they came with bayinat and mu'jizat. Something which is khariq al-'ada, something which is unbelievable. The Quran, this, that. I swear to God, if the Sahaba, they saw all these books and all this kalam between the people, do you think they will say, say, look, sorry to say, yani, this has gone too far? I believe they will say that. You're talking about tajaddud fi dhat Allah. Ibn Taymiyyah says stuff like that. Yani, what you think? Ibn Taymiyyah is khali min kull akhta. No. He didn't make a mistake in Aqidah. Or you? Of course, he made a mistake in Aqidah, at least at one point of his life, because there was a time where he spoke about Fana al-Nar. And no doubt, if you go and get Shifa al-Alil, Ibn al-Qayyim is talking about Fana al-Nar. He spends a whole chapter speaking about it. Don't pretend he doesn't. Salafi pretending, and then the Ash'ari pretending that Fakhruddin is not talking about. Fakhruddin was a Jabri practically. Says al-insan majbur ala surati mukhtar, which means he doesn't have any free will there. Sorry to say. What this? What? I can get you anybody. Get me the amaliqa of whatever madhab you love, and that everybody make mistake in aqidah. In aqidah, bro, you can get some. Sorry, the Hanbalis made mistake. Even at the time of the Salaf, some attributed haraka to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Movement. Where is that in the Quran? The Sunnah?
Will you be held accountable if you are? Will you be held accountable if you are an Ash'ari?
Don't, bro. Would you respect? Don't confine yourself to Ash'ari, Maturidi, Athari. I'm saying, okay, forget these names. Forget all of that. With all respect, forget it. I forget it. All I'm saying is the Quran says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَى إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِذًا لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. There's nowhere in the Quran that says you have to call yourself Salafi. There's nowhere in the Quran which says you have to call yourself Ash'ari. And there's nowhere in the Quran where it says you have to call yourself Maturidi. Yani, did the Ummah require, think logically, my friend, did the Ummah require...
I just want a simple answer, yes or no, like, is it...
I'm speaking, brother, please, just learn to listen.
I'm sorry.
And then we can talk about your questions. Let me speak. Okay. Did the Ummah require Abu Mansur al-Maturidi in order for the people to be guided? Or Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari? Or Ibn Taymiyyah? Yani, if these people didn't exist, the Ummah would be misguided. Yani, sorry to even say, did the Ummah require Ahmad? No, the deen of Islam is ma'soom. Doesn't require any of those. The deen of Islam would have been protected. Allah, He just chose some people to protect the deen, and that is from His own istifa. يصطفي من عباده ما يشاء, you know. But don't يعني confine yourself أشعري مش عارف إيه ما تريدي مش عارف إيه. Yeah, brother, there are some things in أشعري عقيدة, I'm sorry, no one can defend. نفي الأسباب مش عارف إيه كسب, no one understands it. And so, some things as well I can bring you from the Atharis, like I said, that no one said it except for them. Some Atharis, not all of them. Harakatu Allah, some of them went in the direction of Tajsim. Yes, they did. I can bring you if you like. Some of them went in the direction of anthropomorphism. I'm saying, put all of this. No one has the time, brother. You don't have the time, Adam. You don't have the time, and I don't have the time to look at all of that. All I'm saying is simple thing, yeah? Dhatillah of the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is untouchable. Nobody know what that is. I don't know how to understand that. And no matter how many diplomas or certificate or books or this, how many people you bring, I will never give you an answer to this. And whoever gives you an answer to that is a charlatan, because this is something that Quran لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. And all I'm saying is, when it comes to the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, let's agree to put all of those names aside. Abu al-Hasan, who min Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, he is Imam, he is a great man. No one can say anything about Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari. Oh, Ibn Taymiyyah, مش عارف مين. Well, no one can say anything about these great, huge scholars that Allah chose. However, what I will say is, you don't need them, with all due respect. A simple thing, يعني, I read the Quran, I read the Quran like that, and then I see an ayah. As soon as I see the ayah, it's what I do. What do I do? I don't know. What is it? هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات. What does he mean? ثم استوى. I want to check. So I go, Bismillah, Tafsir Ibn Kathir. Let's see what he says. Ibn Kathir says, مش عارف إيه. Oh, very good. What does Ibn Abbas have to say about that? This is my opinion. خلاص. Simple as that. I don't understand fully how you'll never get. You'll never understand the how. Whether you're Ash'ari or Maturidi or Athari, whatever you are, you'll never understand how. Bismillah. I agree with Ibn Abbas. We move on. So I have a doubt. مش عارف إيه doubt. لا. Now you're playing, because now shaitan, you're sitting there, shaitan is blocked, but you're having the effect. You say, look, I don't know how that works. Now I can get you something, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, double split experiment. Till now, I don't know what the observer effect is. I don't know how that works. Do you know how that works, Adam? Do you know how that works? When it's observed, it acts like a particle, and when it's not observed, it acts like a wave. Do you know how that works? Huh? Because if you do, I'd like you to write something and make a peer-reviewed journal, or we can make big money together, me and you. You can send me some email. We need it for the Sapiens, brother. We got £2,000 donation. We got some ridiculous people not donating, brother. And I'm sure you haven't even donated. Have you donated? That's what I thought, Adam. I'm only joking, brother. The people not donating. What I'm saying to you, brother, is this. Are you still there, Adam? Adam. 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 Anyway, Adam, you listen, yeah? Please, you listen. I am saying, if we knew what the observer effect was, you send me that information and we can make money, brother. We can make some money for the Sapiens, brother. You know, some people working for free and this and that and this. Some people, I know, we've got £2,000 donation. I don't know how many days. But if we don't even know how the particles and the waves work, what takabbur, what arrogance of the human being to think, and he's happy not knowing that information. I'm actually happy. I'm, a little bit, I wish I did know a little bit, but I don't really. Do you lose any sleep over that? I don't lose any sleep over that, to be honest with you. There's other things in the dunya which makes me lose sleep, but not that one, I have to be honest. I haven't thought about that for a long time. We don't know how the wave and the particle and this and that, we don't know how this, we don't know how that thing works again. So if we don't know that, we're going to start talking about Dhatillah. How does Allah ascend and how does Allah do istiwa? And A'udhu billah. The way of the people, the predecessors, the pious predecessors, is to say, Allahu A'lam. Kayfiyatu majhul. We don't know how that happens. We don't go into like yani, it means like this. And to be honest, I'm gonna point. No, I'm not just having a go at some. I'll have a go at everybody. Some Salafis, they make the wrong things. Allah has a hand and he has fingers and he has, and the brother, and they're speaking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the things he's saying. Okay, he's getting it from the Salaf in a sense, but the way he's putting it together and he's adding it all together, and he has a shin and he has a foot. Khalas, he's put the whole picture of the man in the head of the person. You go and tell your kids that. Go and tell a 5-year-old Allah has a shin. Yani in that sentence, this is the most dumb pedagogy I've ever seen in my life. You sit with a 5-year-old kid. I appreciate. I come from a Hanbali background, Athari, but I come from that. But you sit with a kid, yeah, a 5-year-old. You say, if he asks you, does Allah have a hand? And you say yes. Do you know what he's going to think? Allah has that. Sorry, I don't care what you think. He thinks. He thinks that. He thinks, and then you say Allah has a hand, and Allah has fingers, and Allah has a face, and Allah has foot. And you're putting it all, lining it up, and then you say Allah's not a man. A'udhu billah. This kid is confused, bro. This kid is confused. And sorry, some of the examples are poor examples of the dumb, some, sorry to say, yani not thinking straight Salafis. And I have to say it from coming from the Athari background. Say, oh, what is the foot of Allah? They say, oh, you know, the foot of the elephant. They say, look, the foot of the elephant is different to the foot of the ant. And they think that, oh, Bismillah, yes, this guy is very clever. They say the door handle is better than the clock hand. You think that's a clever idea, bro? That's Wallahi's hold is going way further than what the Salaf went for, sorry to say. Who said that from the Salaf? What you're saying? This hold. You're telling me don't do philosophy. This is philosophy and it's bad philosophy. Because they say that, look what they say. They say, the elephant has a foot. And the ant has a foot. And I don't know what else has a foot, yeah? You're establishing a continuity. Because in all those cases, it's al-asfal. It's on the bottom. So what you're doing is you think you're establishing, because you're dumb, you think you're establishing a discontinuity, which in one sense you are, but you're actually establishing asfaliyah.
Is that they're describing the harness and everything?
Yeah, you actually now you're khalas, taqrib al-ma'na ba'ah, and you're gonna the guy's thinking you have the audacity. I don't care who said it. I know some ulama said that. They're wrong to have said that because the Salaf did not say this stuff. Yeah, and Allah and the Messenger did not say this kalam. The ant and and the elephant. You think you're a philosopher, bro. That's why if you did study a bit of philosophy, your kid wouldn't think Allah's a man until the age of 10. And I have to be honest, bro. I used to work in certain communities, Bengali communities, Somali communities, this and that. And of course, their parents, a lot of them are Athari and Salafi. And we all, no problem. Bismillah. Of course, I come from that background as well. But then you ask the kid, Wallahi, ask Allah have a hand, fingers. And they think that is, a lot of them actually do believe in tajsimi things. Uqsum billah, they do a lot of. You ask your own youth, what do you think? Because you emphasize too much this ithbat and you de-emphasize what? Laysa kamithlihi shay. You de-emphasize it. So khalas, the guy thinks, or your kid thinks at the age of 5, 6, 7, that Allah is a human being, brother. That's what they think, just like Jesus. And you go and attack the Jews and the Christians. We have to sometimes clean up the own home, yani. We always attack the Christian, Jews and Hindu. We laugh at the monkey God and we laugh at Jesus and we laugh at that believe that Jesus is God and whatever. But we have to clean up the house as well, bro. You can come from an Athari background, but start having pedagogical maturity. So when a kid is 7 years old, 8 years old, I'm not going to tell him that, 6 years old, Allah has a hand and a face, because there's only one way that these kids understand that. Sorry to say. They only understand it tajsiman. I can tell you that the PJ experiment. Have you ever heard of the PJ experiment? Yeah. Piaget, you know, everybody knows psychology of education, bro. You know, it's Piaget experiment. I'm doing this as not just to drink the water, but to show you. They got like a cup like that, yeah? This is for the message, because you think you're clever. Oh, I should teach them the sunnah, and your kid comes out thinking Allah's got a hand and a face and is a human. Yeah, don't tell me about sunnah. If you teach a kid that way, they will come out believing Allah's a man. I'm not saying that Allah, I'm doing nephew of the faith. Oh, look, he's doing nephew of the faith and he's doing nephew of the wedge. I'm not doing nephew of that. In fact, I know that Aqidah, and I believe in the Aqidah of the way of the Salaf, exactly that way. But I'm doing nephew of the way you teach it in your masajid, because you're teaching it in a way which undoubtedly is going to cause tajseem. Because you know why? Look at the Piaget experiment. You get like a cup like that, yeah? You say you bring a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old kid. I think Piaget did it with 5 and 6-year-olds, and you tell them, look how this is cup. How much water is in it? You say this is a little bit of water. Then he gets you a cup which is like longer, yeah, basically a longer cup, and he puts the thing in there. And then the longer cup has got the same amount of water. And you ask the kid, he thinks the longer cup. The kid thinks the longer cup has got more water because it's taller, and they associate height with kathra, with more things. So when you tell your kid, you think your 5-year-old, my question is, do you think your 5-year-old knows how to do second order logic to the extent where they can now do ithbat and nafi and ithbat at the same time? No, they cannot. I don't care if your kid is very clever. He cannot do that. You should not teach them that this is second order stuff. You can teach them that later if you believe in, no problem. You have to teach, oh, no problem. You teach that later when they get to the age of 13, 12, 13, year 7, year 8. Let me teach you about how to teach, because this is a problem. You ignoramuses, yes? I will teach them the sunnah. I will teach, and you have takabbur, big beard, teach them the sunnah. What you mean is you teach them arrogance and tajseem. That's what you mean, actually. Is it what you mean? You teach them the sunnah is, I teach them the sunnah, and then bring a 5-year-old, teach him bad like the madkhalis. I saw many of them that they couldn't even recite Fatiha properly, like their head in this country, Abu Khadija. And then what? And then you recite the Quran, Sharif, you can't recite it. Let's come and talk to the 5-year-olds after you've taught them Fatiha wrong. You're building a markaz, and you teach them Fatiha wrong, and then you tell them Allah has a face and Allah has eyes, and you imagery that, and the 5-year-old only understands it that way. So you've taught them Hinduism, brother. You have taught them Hinduism. You have not taught them Islam. You fool, yeah? You agree with that, Adam?
I'm not Adam, yeah, but it's funny what you're saying.
No, it's true, bro. I'm saying that
it is funny, bro. You have to ask the 5-year-old, bro. You have to ask the 5-year-old. You have to test him with Rabi'a, bro. Come on, man.
No, bro, look,
I'm playing. I'm kidding.
We've got a nice video of SP Fast tomorrow coming, but that's something else. You've got to make sure you watch that, the brother. But what I'm saying, brother, the way of the Salaf is not what these people have made it. Many of them, ulama, have made it wrong because they have not studied Kalam. One of the ulama, I'm not going to mention, big Salafi ulama, alim, big one. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm very tempted to do so, but it's not. He's one of the big heads now. He says, I was reading 100 pages from Dar' al-Ta'al bil Aql wal Naql of Ibn Taymiyyah, and I didn't understand a word. This is the karitha. This is the musibah you have, my friend, that you read 100 pages and you don't understand a word because you say philosophy is haram and kalam is haram. But then when it comes to you're reading the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, who's going to take you out the mazaq that you're in, you can't even understand the man. You might as well be in Hebrew, brother. You might as well be in Sanskrit or something like that. You might as well be reading the New Testament in Greek, and we get the other guy that was speaking to Hamza's sources to tell us about the Greek word the only word he knew in the Greek language. And he thought he was some kind of an expert. And this is the situation we're dealing with, my brother. We're dealing with this level of ignorance. I'll teach them the aqidah, and then bring them in, tell them all the ajsam, and then you know what? Right before they leave, they say, "Laysa kamithlihi shay," and they don't even go through in detail. And the kid does already believe Allah's a man, and he only comes out of that belief when he's 12. Comes out of the kufri belief that because you don't have an andragological or a pedagogical system in place, because you are juhal, and you need the tutelage and the education, and you need the help. Okay, and this is what we provide here at Sapiens. We give you the traditions. We're not here to sectarianism. Wallah, we're not for that. And wallahi lazim, anyone who tells you sectarianism is good is somebody who is either getting money from it or power from it themselves, or they are shaitan. Yeah, they have satanic. The Quran is crystal clear about unity of the Muslims. Crystal clear about that. Okay, does that mean uniformity of the Muslims? No, we don't believe in uniformity of the Muslims. We don't believe in that. The Ash'ari will believe his things. When he asks what is kalam according to the Ash'ari view, he's going to have some, sorry to say, yani, he's not going to give a definition. He's going to give a negation. Kalam is not harf and is not sawt. And to me, that's not the correct answer. For me, alhamdulillah, I believe that is kalam of Allah is harf and sawt. Simple as that. Is letters and words. Sounds and letters. Sorry. Sounds and letters, and how, we don't know how. The Ash'ari will say something else, but we can coexist. We can coexist. I disagree with him. I actually will debate with him. I don't agree with what he has to say, but we can coexist. And this is what we need to be walking in the direction. Why? Because when it comes to da'wah to non-Muslims, the masalih al-kubra, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. The Quran says that. Now this is am. This is kalam am. It's generic. It's generic kalam. It says come together in al-birri wa-taqwa. Come together. How can you take the, we believe the Ahl al-Bid'ah. Khalas, believe the Ahl al-Bid'ah, no problem. But how can you take them out of that verse? You have to have mukhassis. You have to have a specifier. You have to have something which takes them out of that. What are you going to use to take mukhassis? Where in the Quran? They'll say, some of them will say something silly like, the Quran says, the ayah in Nisa where it says,
They mock.
يكفر بها ويستهزأ بها فلا تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره. What? If you see the words of Allah being mocked, etc., then don't sit with them until they speak about something else. And they'll say this is talking about Ahl Bid'ah. And they say, okay, where'd you get that from? Say Qurtubi. So wait a minute, Qurtubi does ta'wil and all this kind of things. He's Ash'ari. And okay, look at Tabari. And Tabari has 2 or 3 opinions, and one of them is Ahl Ahwa, مش عارف إيه. And okay, you're forcing that? You're making that muhkam? He's got 3 different opinions, and you're making that muhkam. يعني it has to be Ahl Bid'ah like the way you like it. And that does takhsis of ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa. How does that even have any relation with ta'awun al-birri wa taqwa? You have no argument for your sectarianism, my friend. And if the Prophet, I believe, well, uqsum billah, if Umar ibn Khattab was here, he said, come here, smack. You fattan. Say, come here, smack. Hold him by the long beard that he's got. Smack in his face with the stick. Smack. Maybe not in his face, haram, but on his body. These people, they need to be smacked because they're causing tafarruq and they're causing sectarianism. They are causing sectarianism and they're causing problems in the ummah. And I know people, and I'm sure you do as well, yeah, in their own house, you have these problems going on. You have the mother, he doesn't do Surah Al-Rahm with his mom because he says she's bid'ah, I don't tabdi' of her. And then the father make takfir of him. I don't know what this one, and you're a different sect, and you're a Hanafi, and I'm a Salafi. I'm going to pray like that. No, you're going to pray, raise your hand, shut your mouth. You follow what your mom and dad says. Yeah? Oh, but I have to raise my hand. I have to follow the sunnah. رفع اليدين ومش عارف ايه وسنة ايه. Sunnah ايه. It's a wajib to follow your parents. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا, which is a wajib. ولا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة. All of these are about the ayahs of the parents, and they forget about that one. No, I'm going to do that. Amdan, the guy's a Hanafi in the house. Father's a Hanafi. And the son, he's now understood the way of the Salaf. So he must put the hand really high. Yani even he doesn't do like modest. He puts it high, so high. So his father, his old 65-year-old or 75-year-old father, he looks up and he has upset. My son has strayed from the way of Abu Hanifa. Make him upset. And he causes fitna in the household, and this person and that person, everyone's causing fitna. And he says, this is the way of the Salaf, and you don't know the Salaf, and you're attacking them. And he doesn't even know that in all the madhahib, Raf' al-Yadayn is not even a wajib. It's not a wajib according to any fiqh that you like. It's a sunnah maximum, my friend. And actually the wajib was to follow your parents and to be good to them, and to be nice to them, show them ihsan. But you just want an opinion, you just want an excuse to be arrogant. So you're using Salafiyya as a pretext to be arrogant to your parents, to bully your parents, to bully your mum, to bully your dad, who's 75-year-old and be Hanafi. You're bullying him. You're abusing him. May Allah abuse you because you're abusing your parents. You're an animal. You are an animal. Yeah, you think this is Salafism? Yeah, really. Yeah, Umar ibn Khattab used to hear, yeah, go against your dad, like go against him more. You think Abu Bakr Siddiq? Yeah, go against. You're crazy. Wallahi, you are people of cult. You are a cult. Yeah, you're sectarian. Not just Madkhali, some like them. They basically act like that. No, the hadith according to whom? According to you. I'll get a book of, I got the book of Albani, Sifat Salat al-Nabi. And now, if my dad goes against this book, I'm going to attack my dad. He's making taqleed of Albani. Taqleed, a'ma, blind. And he thinks because Albani, he's writing some of his hadiths that he believes in, that this is the wahi now. Albani's Sifat Salat al-Nabi book. This is not by the book, but yani, he believes khalas, the wahi now. And the Hanafi, has a school of thought established for, I don't know, 1,200 years, who also is following a book, Qaduri, I don't know what the Hanafi method is, whatever they follow, sorry to say. Yani, they follow that book and they don't want to put their hand, they don't say Ameen, they put their feet to a certain way, whatever. Leave them alone. No, put your feet here, it's against us. Shut your mouth, man. Shut your mouth, you muqallid, jahil, murakkib, animal, sectarian freak. You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. It's honestly, it's my food. Yeah. Okay. No. So let me just wrap it up. Let me just wrap it up for the people, because what I'm saying is we need to understand fiqh al-awlawiyat, the fiqh of prioritization. The sectarian freaks of the ummah that are using the deen as a way to try and boost their own ego and to attack their families and mother and fathers and all of those people need to be sidelined, and they need to start being attacked. Not physically, of course, but they do need to be confronted. Say, look, with all due respect, you following Sifat Salat al-Nabi of Albani. Oh, okay, very good. Yes, he's got hadith next to everything. Okay, good. Ibn Qudama has got a huge book called Al-Mughni, and it has way more hadith than that. And if I want to find hadith, fiqh and hadith, I can go to that. I can go to another book. Why are you forcing me to believe in that? Fiqh tarjih kalam. Oh, tarjih. You want to force your opinion on me? No, I'm not going to force. People are free now, man. Leave people alone. Leave people alone, yeah? And that's the situation. We need to clean up our own house. Yeah, the way you're teaching your kids, the way we're dealing with situations is wrong. We need to humble ourselves, and we need to bringing people together. And I know that burns and it boils the blood of the sectarians. Yes, bring them together, like you do in Hajj. Or do you want to have you want to go to Hajj, you and your friend, this person and that person, the bid'ah police, and you want to come and say, no, sorry brother, what's your aqidah? Oh yes, you're Ash'ari. Sorry, you go to this place. We need to separate ourselves and go to that. They say we don't believe in unity. We only believe in unity on principles, on the true principle. What are you talking about, you jahil? You unite in Hajj. It's a physical uniting. The word unity, it means nothing when it's not maqroon bi context with bisiyaq. It has no meaning. If you say we believe in unity in the context of Hajj, if you don't believe in unity, you believe in tafarruq, you believe in disunity, you believe in division. If you don't believe in unity in Hajj context, that means you believe that people should be separated based on their creeds. We don't even separate the Shia from the Sunnah there. And you want to separate intra-Sunni distinctions and so on? So no, they will say, no, we don't believe in that. So okay, so you believe in a kind of unity then? You do believe in a kind of unity because everyone's coming, everyone's doing tawaf, everyone's participating together in ibadah, everyone is in the same place. And you're not vetting it according to aqidah. No, we say, yeah, but we're not uniting on the same belief. No one advocated that anyone should be uniting on the same belief. You ignoramuses. You are ignorant. No one said we should be uniting on the same beliefs. Okay, you go to a masjid. You're going to kick somebody out. Well, some of them do that, unfortunately, now. They've gone that far. But okay, you're not going to kick somebody out. You unite behind the imam. What the imam now is Hanafi. I'm not going to unite upon. Shut your mouth. You unite in Jum'ah, in Jama'ah, in Hajj, in Jihad. In Jihad, what? Ibn Qudama, he was what? He actually wrote a kitab called Kitab al-Ulu, about the highness of Allah and so on. And he was fighting with Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, who was an Ash'ari. Well, he didn't say, well, actually, I have to be the leader here. He didn't say, sorry, he didn't say that. So this is a kind of unity. So what is left? You might say, well, I don't want my daughter to marry someone, well, actually, according to the Hanafi school, you might not even have a say in the matter. I'm sorry to say. But even let's say you do have a say. Let's say you do have a say. And let's say, maybe, I don't know, I'm not a Hanafi expert, ask your mufti. But you might not have a say in the matter. She might go and do it, and because of your hard-headedness, she might go and do it because, quite frankly, and there's hypocrisy there as well. You know, it is okay. Shart sih kamal for the wali, not shart sihha. So you can have a wali, you can have an agreement, you can have a marriage without the wali being there. Don't try and be Salafis all of a sudden. Sorry to say, Yani. Also, what? Now you're a Salafi, huh? Now you're a Salafi. I say, no, I had the wali and مش عارف ايه. لا, it goes both ways. It goes both ways. You divorced a woman 3 times and he says, Tariq. Hanafi does that. And he goes, he says, and all of the Hanafi mashayikh in the whole of the world will say to him, it's 3 divorces. I'm sorry, she has to go marry another man. So he says, you know what? I think I'll follow the way of Ibn Taymiyyah. What happened, brother? What happened? Ibn Taymiyyah went against even the Hanabila in this mas'ala. You go to the Ibn Taymiyyah now. You go now to Ibn Taymiyyah. Why? Yeah, I thought you were a Hanafi staunch and against Ibn Taymiyyah. Oh, you realize now, oh, maybe he was a alim. He becomes mujtahid all of a sudden. Ibn Taymiyyah now, he was from zero, now become hero. He's a mujtahid, let's follow his opinion. Okay, if he's a mujtahid, then you should have given him respect before. This is hypocrisy on all sides because sectarianism is too pervasive. Okay, give everyone their haqq. You are diminishing from the rights of people when you don't consider people like Abu Hanifa and Ibn Taymiyyah. They are giants of Islam. They are giants. Huge. Mujtahid. You should celebrate these people and respect them just because they had a few differences. Don't try and do isqat of them and cancel them. How dare you? How dare you do that? How dare you do that? So no, this whole sectarianism thing, I'm sorry to say, has gone on for too long. Fair enough. Those Shia, they need separate institutions. And there are, sorry to say, within Sunni, so-called Sunni Islam loosely use the term, like the generic term. There's sometimes the differences are too much, so we need space in certain contexts. I'm not going to tell you we don't. I'm not going to tell you let's put the Brelvites and the Madkhalites together because someone's going to die in that scenario. Someone's going to get killed. Someone's going to get killed, brother. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to that. And maybe we should. No, only kidding. The Brel, I'm not saying let's put everybody. No. I'm saying let's have maturity when we speak of the issue of unity of the Muslims and realize that there are contexts. Everybody agrees there has to be unity. Let's not try and pretend that's not there. You live your life. Okay, you don't want your certain family members to be married to somebody from maybe a faraway madhab. That makes sense. Whether it's fiqhi, madhab, or aqidah, I get it. I understand this. But don't drag that out and make it into something else. Because what we're trying to achieve, wallahi, and I'll finish with this because I need to eat something, yeah? Because I need to eat something before I fast tomorrow because I am a big man and I need big calories. You understand that? And I think everybody understands this. I think everybody, especially Adam, who ran away when he was trying to argue with me in a very mature manner. 4,000 calories a day. Simply, you know, this fasting is very difficult for me, you see. But what I'm going to say is this. This is what the aim and objective is. Yes, we have our own, as sapiens, we have our objectives of the doubts. We try and get rid of the doubts of the people. We try and explain Islam, and yeah. But there's another thing which I want to say to the people. Listen very carefully. Everybody that's listening to this live stream, 840 people. Yes, because you know when I put this kind of show on, they like it. Yeah, 847, 849. Let's bring it to 900. Come on, get your friends involved. Let me, because this call your friends. 851. What? It's gone down to 846. This is ridiculous. Let me say what I need to say.
By the way, salam alaikum.
Wait, hold on, my brother. Come on. This is not the right time.
My fault. I just wanted to say salam to you.
Are you going?
No.
Oh, okay. Listen, one of the objectives that we have as the Muslim Ummah is to identify the fringe elements, the sectarians, the ones who have a personal and group agenda, and then to alienate them. So that if somebody says, if you meet a Sufist who says, oh, I'm not going to pray behind the Salafist because he's a kafir. I've met these people. You say, actually, you are an extremist and your belief is unsustainable. It's unsustainable, and probably you're the one who's falling into shirk, actually. Allah Alam, probably he's the one who's he believes the Prophet is everywhere or something, or I don't know, but the Prophet has all the knowledge or something, which is a shirki and kufri belief. How can the Prophet have all the knowledge when Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ مَا كُنْتُ بِدْعًا مِنَ الرُّسُلِ وَمَا كُنْتُ أَدْرِي مَا يُفْعَلُ بِي وَلَا بِكُمْ. I don't know. I wasn't an innovation from the prophets, and I don't know. Oh, he doesn't know. The Prophet doesn't know what's going to happen to him or to the other people. You know what I'm trying to say? So he doesn't know certain things. They ask you about this hour. When will it be pegged? You don't know when will it be. So you want to try to delete those verses of the Quran? No, bro. The Prophet doesn't know everything, my friend. So those people that are making takfir of the Salafists and they're extreme. And then you have the other extremes from the Salafists that make takfir of everybody else. Like one of them said, actually famous alim, he said, nobody knew what La ilaha illallah was except for me. All of my teachers, I'm not going to mention who it is. If you know who it is, you can research this in Arabic. Yeah, you'll see in their tracks. Nobody knew what La ilaha illallah is except for me. None of my teachers. What kind of kalam is that? That's from the Salafi side. So we alienate those opinions. We say this is the opinion, the fringe opinions. We alienate. We see someone with that opinion. We identify them as a threat to unity, to security. Sorry, yes. This can be a threat to security. Because now that you've made takfir of me, what's next? Mufti Menk was shot at in, I don't know, Zimbabwe. You know, shot. They wanted to kill him. Some of those extremists from the Sufist side. And then some extremists from the Salafist side. And by the way, the Sufis don't actually do that. Like, they're not known for this. Let's be honest. So we don't even need to speak about the ones who are the extremists from the other side, because the whole world knows who they are now. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and Misharif Min were shooting and killing, and no one's a Muslim to them. One time when I was younger, I can never forget this. There was a guy from Jabhat al-Nusra, which is like another takfirist group, which is quite similar to ISIS. And the guy's name was Jolani, and he was making an interview. He was doing an interview with Al Jazeera, and it's still online. You can find it for the Arabic listeners. And they were asking him, "Why are you like divided with ISIS? This is that like at the heart of the whole Syria war." And he said, they're making takfir of us and they're taking our women as slaves. I was thinking, whoa, man. You guys believe in 99.9% of the same stuff. That somehow you found 0.001% to not only make takfir, to hate the other person, to kill them, and to enslave their wife. Now, wallahi, I don't know how on earth how you managed that hermeneutically. How on earth did you do that? That's going to need some backflips, acrobatics, some hermeneutic acrobatics and backflips and this. How do you do that? And these extremists, wallahi, we can do all that. Let me tell you something. We can do work for 10 years at Sapiens and 10 years at Ayura and 10 years in this place, one path, these people, good people, everyone's good. Not everyone, but all of these good people. And they do great work. And then we find some, sorry to say, some prick. This is the word I'm going to use. Some prat, some prick, some prat Muslim, some prick. And this prick, he wants to destroy everybody's work. Everybody's work. Blow himself up. Go and do tabdiya. Go and do takfir. Go and worship somebody, a human being. Go and... You're destroying our religion, brother. We need to work on this ourselves. We need to, this is very important. It's as important as us doing dawah to non-Muslims and the Islamophobes. This is, if not more important. We have to deal with that. So an issue is to identify when you hear and see certain things, takfir, tabdi'a, you're one of those, khalas. We warn the people against you because you're the kind of guy that will probably kill somebody. You're the kind of guy that's going to harm somebody. You're a sectarian guy. You're making money at your sect or your little barnamij that you've got, you charlatan, or your little cult that you have. Once we've identified who you are, the Muslims are going to stay united in the middle, the broad stroke Muslims, the normal Muslims. And we have identified who you are now. We're going to deal with you just like we deal with the enemies of Islam. Just like them, we have to, because if we don't do it, then they're going to think we are the same. The disbelievers are going to think you freak and me are the same. We're not. And if I have a record of 10 years of going against you freaks, yes, if I have a record of that, then I will say to the people, we've been working on this for 10 years. We've been dealing with the freaks, the pricks we have been dealing with, and the prats. And that's what I have to say to the people, man. Yeah? I'm going to eat my curry now. Assalamu alaikum.
You're an audience.
Assalamu alaikum.